Welcome, everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about career and then moving from that career if you're not happy in it. Because there are so many people who fall into the career rut, is what I'm going to call it. You think you want to be in this career. You start the career. You're in over your head. So you say, you know what? I've gone this far already, and I'm going to keep on pushing. So you keep on pushing, you finally get your degree, you finally reach the point you wanted to in your career, your trade or your business or whatever you were going for. And you find something there, unhappiness, displeasure, all the things that you don't want in your life is there. So we trade our life, we trade our time for things that we don't enjoy fully to capacity. And it's important that we don't allow that to happen. But every single day we allow ourselves to be in a rat race. Every single day, we allow ourselves to be unhappy with the jobs that we partake in. But I'm telling you that there is going to be a different solution. We can turn all of that around. Just how we turn Reven concepts around. It once was never, but now it's Reven. Things can be possible in your life. We can make some changes. How do we make those changes? And today, I'm going to be bringing on a career transition coach, Davina Ware, who's going to be helping us understand that the career that we're in, we don't have to be stuck in it. These are the steps. This is the process to how to get through it, how to get over it, and how to find more meaning in your life. So let's get into that interview with Davina and myself. Welcome, Davina Ware, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming on. And today I have you on as a transition coach. And I don't know if we had a transition coach before. I'm sure we had maybe a coach that does similar work to a transition coach. So I am totally unaware of the work that you do, but I know who is going to be the best resource for that, you. What I want you to do right now is tell the audience who you are, what you do, and how you help them.
So as you've mentioned, I'm a career transition coach and workplace strategist. Say that 3 times fast. But basically, I help people to transition out of jobs and careers where they're stagnant, they're not going anywhere, they're miserable, into ideal careers on purpose, as I call it. But I also work with workplaces so that they can create a space to create these newly branded professionals to make sure that there are avenues for them to invest their skills and talents for the long term, to build great relationships, and also to have thriving cultures. And ultimately, it's so that the workplace can be less scary. I think within my generation, which are the millennials, and then the generation after me, which is Generation Z, corporate workplace, it's a nightmare. It's a scary place that a haunted house you would visit on Halloween, as opposed to somewhere you'd want to be long term to achieve what I call work-life integration, because we're past work-life balance at this point. So it's working on both sides of the equation to ensure that professionals have a place to use their skills and the very expensive degree that they have paid for. And then ultimately companies get these shining stars that will ultimately create a really great strategic plan and outcome on both sides.
So let's look at the beginning, right? So we're in high school, we're seniors, we're getting ready to graduate. We are now going off to college. Maybe you are going to take a trade, you do hair, electrical, carpentry, whatever it be. And now we have a choice, right? We can go for that 4-year degree. We can go to a trade. But if you go to that 4-year degree, you might find 2 years in that you're just not happy with this decision that you made. And you're like, well, I'm already 2 years in, might as well finish. And you finally finish and you get your degree in whatever it is, whether it be engineering, accounting, business finance, management, whatever the degree is. And now you're in this career. You're just unhappy in that career. Then, of course, we want to transition later on. But do you think it's a good idea for someone who's maybe just starting off college to really do some introspection on what they truly want in 10, 20 years versus just, all right, this is what I'm going for in the next 4 years?
Oh my goodness, yes. If I could scream that from the top of every rooftop in America, I would. Not just the introspection, but get a mentor, get some support from either the field that you're in right now, and then you got there and you say, I don't know so much about this. Talk to someone higher up on that career ladder already, but also find a mentor in some other industries or other work that you might consider doing. And I've been there. So I went to college. I wanted to be an anchor woman. I'm like this, yes, me reporting the news, especially in Chicago, like this is what I'm going to do. And then I was a reporter for the local, news station. And it was fine. But again, I live in Chicagoland. It gets cold. And I was like, oh, I've got to go outside and do this. No, I can't do it. I can't just show up and be an anchor person. So that changed my whole career trajectory from there. Either way, I just don't believe in long-term misery. Ask questions to whoever will listen that will give you great insight so that you can make the most informed decisions. But I know what it's like to say, well, I've come this far. I just want to get out. That's putting a Band-Aid on a wound that will continue to gape unless you make some pivots pretty early.
Yeah. When I was 18, 19, I was a business finance guy. I was doing accounting on all that stuff. And I enjoyed it, right? In school, it's nice. You do the numbers, cool. But then when you work for a company, it was like, I don't know, like how to explain it. It was just kind of like a dead end job where it's just like you go into a cubicle, you're by yourself all day and you're just doing stuff, right? Whether it be data entry, it would be organizing journals and stuff like that. And I mean, like, yeah, like the work is not difficult by any means, but it's like, man, like you go in with so much hope and imagination. You go, you're just drained. And I remember one day this was going, I was 19 at the time. And I was just looking at the sidewalk and I just saw like the divots in the sidewalk, like for each step I took. And I just said to myself, like, again, I'm 19. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like I only been doing it for a year and a half, for like 2 years now. And I was just like, no, I can't do it. Right. But some people sometimes they give themselves responsibilities. For example, maybe you have a family now. Maybe you bought a house, car, you have some pets and stuff like that. So you have to, get some money and stuff like that to take care of everything. And we give ourselves that responsibility, right? I have to be a responsible adult and take care of everything that I have to take care of. And we or people are going to have a harder time relinquishing that career because it's making ends meet. Do you think that's a good idea to give ourselves a sense of responsibility when it comes to our career? Or should we focus on the long term, maybe our happiness or maybe our mission and purpose?
Ooh, that's a good one because I've been where you are. So you were just looking at the sidewalk, or when I graduated, I was an administrative coordinator for like a construction professional association. And it was very sobering because you're in that little cubicle, those gray walls, and you say, oh, I'm supposed to do this for the next 40 years. Wow. I think I'd rather move to Alaska and shepherd, huskies or something. But I think you said the key thing towards the end there, which is mission and purpose. And most professionals don't know what that is because college doesn't really teach us to do that. Or even when you get a trade, it's all about practical application. Excellent. But there's a detachment from you showing up as your authentic self, doing something that revs your engine and that contributes to the world, really. But I know it's harder when you have a family and people to support. It may be, I'm not even going to say harder. There's different obstacles, but it's not impossible. If you find yourself in a career where you're like, this isn't it. 19-year-old me or 18-year-old me who made this decision is different from 35-year-old me who is seeing different outlooks, and I need a whole paradigm shift. It's going back to introspection. It's taking an internal inventory of what can I do? What am I good at? And how do I apply it in a way that's not draining other areas of my life? So starting with that will give you a direction, a path to place your steps on. And then from there, it's what careers come out of that. We think a lot of times that we don't have the authority of where we can work. We don't have say of what that environment looks like. So our careers end up just kind of dragging us around by our hair. When you start from the inside out, you have more authority, even when you have other things to take care of. Maybe there's certain risks that you won't take, but there are certain decisions and choices that you can make that will still work for you and your environment and your situation and your family. But it starts first with taking that internal inventory and really understanding what your purpose is and being very clear on what is going to suck the life out of you as opposed to what is going to energize you to where on Sunday you don't have the blues about Monday. So there's still options for that person.
Yeah, most people wait for Friday, dread Sunday because Monday's coming next. And we look at our mission and purpose after the fact most of the times, right? When we're young, we just kind of look at the money, maybe we look at, I guess, the social aspects of having a career or a particular type of job. For example, if you are a doctor, you could be a pediatrician, heck, you could be a veterinarian. It doesn't matter, right? You are a doctor, right? So we have that title. That right there is so big in society. That symbol, that status symbol right there. We look at that. And it's something that sometimes can be a good thing, right? Because we all need doctors. We all need people to help the infrastructure engineers and things like that. But maybe someone, just wants to, knit. And that's their mission, right? That's their purpose. And if you told your parents when you were 16, hey, I'm going to be a knitter or I'm going to be a tailor or something like that, they were like, huh? I thought you wanted to be a doctor. I thought you wanted to be a lawyer, something along those lines. So we give ourselves a high status job, I guess you could say, replace jobs in different brackets. Do you think that's healthy for society to give ourselves that ideal of there's certain jobs that are higher on the totem pole?
Oh, I think you do your soul a disservice when you do that. I get it though, because we live in a society that is about that. And for my generation, they taught us that if you want to not be run of the mill, if you don't want to be like your parents, if you're trying to break ceilings, then you got to go to college, you got to do X, Y, and Z. So it's our culture is flowing in that direction. But people that have the most sense of self and purpose and satisfaction, they're going against the grain of what society is doing. So I think going back to asking questions, explore, play, find some internships. If you're a creative person to where working in a regular office environment would just drive you batty, then explore creative careers. There are all kinds of internships available just for you to put your fingers in something and see if that works, to see if that's something you'd like to do. Or taking a class at art school, but play in these different industries. That's the only way you'll really know whether something works for you or not. We look at status and we say, okay, well, that checks box A, B, and C, that works. But it's not until like doctors or nurses go into clinicals to determine what department they'd want to become an expert in. It's the same thing outside of that. So I pivoted from being a news gal to marketing, but marketing has lots of different facets. So I did a lot of internships in events and event planning. I've done some with media companies and media buying. But when I put my fingers in all these different places and got to see what the world was like, that allowed me to make a decision that was very authentic to, one, my personality, how I move about the world, but also it made sense for my natural motivators and where I saw myself in life. We've gotten out of that because we think, okay, I've got to pay for X, Y, and Z, or I need the status and that'll make me happy, so to speak. But it doesn't start there. We've got to experiment. There are so many opportunities with the internet. We're hearing about different ways of doing things every day. Join that movement. Go with the flow of that, especially if you're in a bigger city. Like I'm in Chicago, there's so many ways you can interact with things, and it sparks things in your subconscious that maybe you didn't have access to before because we have such a routine in how we do things. So that paradigm shift can open up a whole new career path, a whole new network, and new ideas of how you can use your gifts and talents that you probably never thought of before because you never exposed yourself to it before. So explore, play, engage with industries and people that are outside of your normal routine, and you'd be surprised at what you find.
Yeah, I definitely agree with searching, trying out things, and then playing with different areas of that realm. For me, it was teaching. And the spark for me was teaching. I just enjoyed teaching. And even when I was 18 and 19, I was doing business finance. the reason I was doing business finance was because I was really good at getting like A's in like high school and accounting and stuff like that. And so I'm just thinking in my head, well, this is like a natural talent for me. This is what I'm supposed to do. So I'm thinking in the term of I'm really good at it, so I might as well do it. But then there's something inside of me, and this probably sparked when I was like in maybe sixth grade, where I was like, maybe I want to be a teacher. Maybe I want to be an educator. And so even when I was going for the accounting and things like that, I had in the back of my mind, I'm going to do this for 4 years and then I'm going to be a teacher. I want to make my money and then I'm going to go be a teacher. Long story short, I was like, 2 years in, I was like, I'm not going to make it 4 years. I was like, let me become a teacher. And at that point, I mean, I dabbled in so many different worlds of education. I was a swim coach. I taught music. And then I went on to teach the elementary schools, K to 12. For me, it was a journey where I went from high school in my natural talent and my gift, thinking that's what I needed. But then I said, well, what was something that kind of lit me up, that spark inside of me, which was teaching and education. And I mean, I even transitioned from teaching in the public schools to being my own coach, like, doing mindset coaching and things like that. Still the world of education, but just a different facet of education. So I don't have to be in a school, be a teacher, because what I found in teaching, it's a wonderful job. The people who do are selfless. I could probably teach to this day if there wasn't so many restrictions and things like that on the education system. And teachers weren't handcuffed basically about teaching children the way it used to be. Like, sure, you growing up, because that was before all the standardized testing. We still had, some stuff like that, but it wasn't as like, all right, give them a test, like a week long of tests. And I'm seeing first graders like literally going to work or going to school. Literally, they're drained. Like they're like 45-year-old accountants in cubicles. They had the same look on their eyes. And I said, is that what we're doing? I was like, I cannot be a part of this. So I said, well, what's going to be the next thing, right? These kids are going to go through the system and they're going to come out and they're going to need someone to take away their limiting beliefs. That's what I focus on. And what you focus on is the other aspect. You're focusing on the people who are going into careers that they're not looking at initially, their purpose and their passion. They're maybe looking at their gifts or their talents. And then they're like, I need to make some change. So it's always going to be a gap for that. So we do have to understand. But I wanted to get your take on the difference between, should someone follow what they're really good at, like their talents, their gifts? They're really good at math. You should be an accountant. You should be an engineer, something along those lines. Or should someone follow their passion and then build that into maybe a purpose?
I love that question because you're right. We normally pick one or the other, but for true success all the way around in terms of your own sense of happiness and joy, but also the financial gains of it, they're not mutually exclusive. You need to do both. And that's what I teach people to do. How can we take that great gift of yours and then blend it with your talent so that it makes sense for a career path for you? I'll use myself as an example. My natural talent or gift that I could do all day long is speaking, coaching, public speaking. Love it. Great. And then some of the skills or things I'm naturally good at are strategy, marketing, branding. I'm in a position now where I help people with personal branding through coaching, or I'm always speaking from that lens. Or if I'm working on marketing projects, I'm thinking about the user experience and how they would interact with things. So being able to blend the two together, one, it creates a brand for you. And I think all professionals need one, but it also gives you this sense of flow. So you're not competing of, okay, well, I'm using my skills over here, but my gifts are over here. And then we end up filling up our day with both to try to hit these things so that we have some sense of fulfillment, but then we're burnt out at the end. And that doesn't really help how you even view or want to interact with or sharpen your talents or gifts if you're using them, not together. I think that's the sweet spot, is to take these items. The other thing, though, and I'm glad you mentioned it earlier, and I'm glad you said that, there are some things that we're naturally good at, but we don't necessarily love to do. So I give everyone permission to not use that. Some people can be really good at typing, but I don't want to do that all day. But if I don't make a conscious effort to extract that out of the equation, when I'm applying for things or people are asking, can you do this for me? I'm going to include that thing that I'm good at but I really don't like into what I do. And then you wonder why be happy, feeling good on a rise, and then boom, you're shot back down. That's why, because you've included something you're good at, but don't really like to spend your time doing. Take that out of the equation. Reporting numbers. I like them and I think they're great. They give authority and expertise, and I'm good at extracting them. I literally don't want to do that. Please don't. Don't take away from me being able to do the speaking part of it. Great. So now that's an opportunity for me to delegate or partner with people because of it. But now that I have taken like research and analyst out of the things I'm good at, now I have more room for the stuff that I want to do. And then it just makes it a lot easier. So let's blend them together. They're not mutually exclusive. Your brand should be both.
Yeah, it's about creating that synergy between the two, because it's essential that you understand that if you're doing something long term, you have to appreciate it. You have to love it, just to, for lack of words, like love it, like truly, like I'm good at editing, right? Like I can edit really good if I want to. I can like make the most killer reels and edits and stuff like that, but I delegate it. I say, you know what? Get a team to do it. And sometimes I do jobs that I'm like, I could do so much better than that. But then at the same time, it's like, do I want to spend the hour editing a reel clip or an episode? And I could do something else for that hour, right? I can coach someone for an hour. I find so much joy and fulfillment in that. Maybe now I don't have to coach. I have the time off. Maybe I want to go hang out with my family. I have that freedom. And if I had to edit, it's like, well, I got to edit. I just recorded this episode, got to edit. That right there, even though I'm good at it, even though I enjoy it sometimes it's good to delegate. Sometimes it's good to get things off your plate. I wrote a whole blog on this. The power of delegation is so powerful. I'm sure you're familiar with the Clifton Strength Finder test, where it tells you your strengths and it tells you what you're good at and it tells you where you're weak. But just because it's like a low number doesn't mean that you're not good at it. Because for me, I think communication is like number 14 or something like that. But I'm a pretty decent communicator. I actually like public speaking and things like that. But then I'm sure like if people heard this and they're like, hearing you say, oh, I like public speaking, they'll say, I'll never go up on stage. Like that's that biggest fear they have. And I wanted to talk to you about the fears that we give ourselves sometimes, whether it be career fears or it be just personal fears that stop us from going into the career we're supposed to, or maybe going into the career that we have like in our mind and we're dreaming about it, we're aspiring to have it, but we have that fear there. How do you help people get over that?
Thing I tell people is, just because you have fear doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing to do. It just means it's an unfamiliar space, and unfamiliar, the discomfort is where you grow. It's that catalyst, right? It's like that fire, right? That flame under you that is going to make you move. So fear is a good thing. I think it's a good indicator of this is a place that we can develop. Now let's unpack that. Where is the fear? Is it fear of the future? Okay, well, that hasn't happened yet. So maybe your framework for this may be off. Is it a self-worth thing? Do you feel like I can't rise to that occasion? Or you feel like I don't want to rise to that occasion? Well, then there's some inner conflict. If you are excited about something in the future, but then you're like, I don't want to do it. That little space, there's some inner conflict there. There's some things that are unclear, or maybe there's some thought distortions that are causing you to do that. Or is it from your past? Did you make a mistake that seemingly cost you greatly, to where now you're paralyzed to move forward? So after one, accepting that fear doesn't mean run in the other direction, but then where is this fear and how can we place the truth within that? And sometimes you just need someone to talk you out of it or shine a light in those blind spots or explore your biases, which are, I think, unfairly placing too much emphasis on them, which is making fear erupt in the way that it is.
Fear is one of those things that are an illusion. We give ourselves fears. When we're born with the fear of falling, the fear of loud noises, and any other fear that goes beyond that, we gave ourselves. So I always tell people that, because if you have a fear of transitioning jobs, you're giving yourself that. If you have a fear of public speaking, you're giving yourself that. If you have a fear of not being able to make ends meet, you're giving yourself that fear, because fear is taking the space of action. And we do have to have good action more so than just being in fear, because fear can be debilitating. It's like, oh, I don't want to take action. You can freeze. We have to be able to take action readily and immediately too. It's not so much, okay, well, I can wait. I'm okay for now. And yes, you could be okay in your job. You could be okay in your career. But when is that breaking point for you where you just have like a mental breakdown on it? And I'm sure you probably heard about stories of people just losing it at work. They'll have like a psychotic breakdown, heart attacks. I mean, so many horror stories on that where people just wait to that point. And I don't want people to get to that point. I want people to understand that they can make some changes today, right now. And early on, you said something, and I wanted this to be the peak of our conversation. You said there's a new type of work-life integration and balance type of system going on. And I wanted to get your definition of the two, and then maybe talk about how the system is now. Is it a good thing and is it a bad thing? So you said there's a difference between work-life balance and work-life integration.
I think now work-life balance is you're able to spend your time either at work or at home in your personal endeavors, and they don't bleed so much into each other to where you can be fully present and not overwhelmed or overextended in either. With work-life integration, the work you do is an extension of yourself. So it's not this sense of, well, I've got to make sure one doesn't bleed over the other, or, okay, I have to shut off my day here to say, all right, I'm not doing work in this, I'm resting. It's being in a rhythm to where you can do the work that you love to do around the people that you want to be around for the folks that you are called to serve, but it's not disrupting how you naturally go about life. Yes, of course, we should have some limits on our time, but you shouldn't have to cut off work at a specific time so staunchly so that you can enjoy life. Because the way day and night goes and the way nature goes, it's a natural rolling into the next thing. And when you have an integration, you're still being fully yourself and how you would naturally show up, but the environment may change, but your energy and how you put out your efforts and who you are doesn't. And most of us have that stopgap where we say, oh, this is work me, this is personal me. And those stopgaps are very unnatural rhythm to how life is when you're integrating the two. And I'm also speaking about this on the corporation side, that they have to create these environments where people can be fully authentically themselves. And that's when you have burnout, when people aren't, or resentment when people aren't, like you said, where people kind of blow up and they're like, I hate this place. That's because the work leaked too much into the personal side. But when you can just shift environments from work to home, whether you're working from home or not, you're able to continue on your day without this breach or without this break of turning off and on. And that's what integration does. So being able to do what you do best all day, no matter what you're focused on at that moment, whether it's work or personal life. And part of this is being ushered in by your millennials, make up almost 70% of the workforce we require something different, which is being able to enjoy life, which is being able to, most of us have picked careers and we've picked degrees based on what naturally lights us up anyway, what we love to spend our time doing. So the workplace kind of has to adjust to that in order for both to be satisfied and successful.
I wanted to talk to you about our career and lifestyle. I think sometimes people think, well, if I want to mansion. I want a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, like all the nice things in the world, Gucci bags, Louis Vuitton. And they say, well, I'm not going to get that working at Starbucks. It's going to be very difficult to get that bag every single week at Starbucks. But you can be, again, a big head, like Honcho CEO. You could be a jeweler, go around the world, like buying, selling jewelry. And, like look at Kendra Scott, for example. And so we can be big people, right? We could be the top of the top, right? We are the top of the food chain. We are the lions and lionesses. That right there might not be your calling, right? Yeah, you make a lot of money, but just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean that you make a lot of joy in your life too. And I wanted to talk to you about the concept of, should we choose a career for money, or if we had the choice to do many different things, but it brings us more joy? Because I know sometimes people might get a career, and maybe the career was like, I want to work for nonprofits. Very great job. So you work for a nonprofit, but maybe you're not making as much. So then after your nonprofit, you go to an after-hour job. Maybe you work at Starbucks or whatever, and you work there for a couple hours to increase your lifestyle. Do you think that is an appropriate way to be also, in lieu to the first question? Or should someone just have one career, say, this is the amount of money that, this career is going to make me, and this is my lifestyle that I fall into?
I think it goes back to that inventory that we took. So what is it that motivates you? Starting with that. So outside of the actual job you're doing, does it motivate you to be a very altruistic person and to just be able to help whoever, whatever they need, without it being attached to a specific purpose? If that's the case, then you layer on what kind of careers are available to me that will allow me to do that. And then you layer on, salary requirements. So maybe it could be nonprofits, but it also could be for-profit that still allows you to do this thing. And industry makes a big difference with that. So if you're in the healthcare field, yep, there's nonprofit healthcare associations, but there's other ways in healthcare. Maybe it's teaching, maybe it's whatever it is. I think there's a way you can find your footing, but you've got to be clear on what that motivation is. Some people are just motivated by money, period. Other people, money is the vehicle to get the thing. So in what way is it? Is it recognition for you? Then you need to find a place that's going to recognize your gifts and talents and your hard work, and then also allow you to be promoted and make that money. But at the core, why would you choose a nonprofit, for example? Is it the pace of that environment, or is there a particular group of people that you want to work with? Starting from that motivation, then determining what that looks like, the people or the industry, that all of that is part of the recipe that answers that question of, how can I still make money? You can, definitely, even from a coaching, counseling perspective, right? We have social workers who are so very needed, but typically they don't make a lot of money. But let's look at what they're doing. How are they helping people, and who are they helping? If you want to help a specific group of people, maybe you need to focus on the coaching side more than a social work side. So I think all can be achieved. It's just a matter of how you want to do it ultimately. Typically, I am against, let's have 45 part-time jobs. And I'm saying that as a person who's had 45 part-time jobs, because no matter what you do, we can't add any additional time to our day. Time is a non-renewable resource. So the best thing that you can do is to maximize the efficiency of your time and not being burnt out. Yes, hard work, I'm all about that. It's better to work really hard and to be very focused within this hour than to be on a hamster wheel for several hours, and then you're constantly switching focuses. I personally believe there is a way for you to make the money you want to make. I'd also address, what's the driving force for that? Is it because of what you seeing on TV? Is it because you're running from your past? Or is it because you want to have this particular lifestyle? And then put the frame around that. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. I actually 100% agree with that. Because if you're just inundating yourself with job after job after job to make ends meet, I encourage you to do a pivot at that point, because you're just in that mindset of, all right, this is what I'm capable of doing. And you stay at such a low level. However, if you get a coach like yourself, you are going to find how amazing you are. And that is where we are. People don't realize just how amazing they are. They don't realize how much potential they have within them. They are limiting themselves so much. And the work that you do is helping people realize that, helping people unlock that, and helping people find that. And I loved everything about our conversation today. You're just spot on, hit after hit after hit. You're a rock star. And before we go, I wanted to get some final words from you. And then I want you to tell the audience where they can find you.
Yes. Final words is, I don't believe in misery. We don't have to be stuck there. There are careers and there's places where we can be cultivated, and it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but that doesn't have to be the norm. So wherever you are, if it's a career or job or wherever space in life where you don't feel satisfied, you don't feel satiated, look at it in terms of a sharpening tool and mechanism. What can you gain? What can you glean from that space, whether it be contacts, whether it be the place where you can stumble and make mistakes before you go to the next place, or whether it is getting your personal affairs in order so that when you transition to the better place, you're coming as a whole and complete person, a person that has done well and is known for being a high performer and your craft and sharpening that, but also a person that is forgiving, that is confident in who they are and what they have to bring to the table, and they are optimistic about their future. So come as a whole person, utilize where you are right now as a launching pad for the best place that you could ever be, which is what I call to be careers on purpose. On all socials, you can find me at Upwardly Paved Path, or on LinkedIn, you could just Google Davina Ware and you'll find me. Same thing on YouTube. You can just type in Upwardly Paved Path and you'll find me. And for those who are like, yep, I've got to make this transition, but I want to do it the right way without burning bridges behind me or in front of me, you can find on my website, upwardlypavedpath.com, a 90 days to quit checklist under the 90-day career fix, which is my signature program that helps to pluck people out of the wrong soil and then plant them into the right soil, where they're using their gifts and talents, where they have a brand and they can connect with the employers who are searching for them, and that will accept them, flaws, quirks, and all.
Perfect. And I would definitely put all of your links in the description box below so people can easily find you, reach out to you, and then shine some light onto their life, not just their life, their career too. And it's so important that we start to take action today, because there are so many people in the world who feel stuck in their jobs right now, whether it be because of obligation or mindset. And if you have the right person in your corner, like Davina, you're going to find yourself able to tackle any problem, any issue, and you're always going to find yourself on top. And that's where you should be, on top. I encourage everyone, again, to check out Davina. All her socials will be in the description box below. Thank you so much, Davina, for coming on, spending a little bit of time with us. And it was a great conversation.
Thank you for having me. This was so fruitful.
All right, everyone. I'd like to thank my guest, Davina Ware, for coming on Coaching a Session. As you can see, she's going to be helping people get into the career that they should be in. Because sometimes we find ourselves in that rut of that 9 to 5. Now, that 9 to 5 can pay the bills. Maybe it brings us a little bit of happiness. We like our coworkers. Maybe we even like our job. But we find ourselves at the end of the day drained. We find ourselves at the end of the day unable to push and do the things that maybe we want to do. Hobbies, maybe missions or more purpose in our life. And there's a saying, you might work a 9 to 5 to pay the bills, make ends meet, to maybe give you a semblance of a lifestyle that you're looking for. But that is not the end goal. The end goal is going to be building an empire. Now, a 9 to 5 can build an empire, but typically a 9 to 5 is not going to build your true empire. That true empire is not going to be built from 9 to 5. It's going to be built from 7 to 11. That's 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. So that means as soon as you get home, you are going to be maybe relaxing, maybe eating, maybe spending a little bit of time with family. You're not going to sit down and just watch TV for the next 4 or 5 hours until it's bedtime. You are going to say, I'm going to recharge really quickly, and then I'm back at it for the next couple of hours. That's 7 to 11, that point right there. You're going to find that you can build and you can cultivate something amazing in your life. That's what I did. I said, all right, I wanted to start a coaching career. I wanted to build a business, build a brand. And I said, wait, that takes time. That takes a lot of work. And you always have to keep building. And then you have to make sure that once you're building, you're not just putting in the wrong pieces here and there. Because the people that you're building with, or the people who come onto your business, right, they come on for a specific mission, specific goal. So we have to stay clear in what we're going for. We need that type of direction. We need that type of accountability. So can you remain accountable, right? When you get from your 9 to 5 and you want to start your new company, you want to start your new brand, you want to start whatever it is you want to start. Can you say from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock, or maybe even 10 o'clock, right? Maybe you only want to do 3 hours. And you say, I'm going to do this every single day, or maybe every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? We give ourselves a schedule, whatever your schedule is for that. Typically, I would recommend just making it a Monday through Friday type of thing, right? You're coming off of work, you might as well build your empire too. And then on Saturday, if you need a recoup. Sunday typically is for prayer for people, or you can do work, right? So it just depends. But you shouldn't sacrifice your time, right? So Saturday and Sunday are supposed to be family time. You shouldn't have in your mindset, oh, I should work somewhere else on the weekend so I can make some extra money. All right. That right there is going to keep you always working. You're working for a paycheck. You're working to make ends meet, when we can create something that's going to not only make ends meet, but allow ourselves to live in abundance. And that is where we are. From 7 to 11, we should learn how to live in abundance. However, you can't do it by yourself most of the time. People who have tried fail more often than not. It's the same thing as New Year's resolutions. People say they're going to do something, they start off strong, and then they stop. This is where we need a coach like Davina. This is where we need a new mindset. Here at Reven Concepts, that's what we cultivate and create. But when you're in a career and you want to make some changes, find yourself a coach, find yourself a mentor, find yourself a guide that's going to help you navigate to that point, because you can do it by yourself. No one's saying that you can't, but you're going to get there so much quicker with a coach, so much quicker than someone who can see your vision clearly with all of the hurdles, all of the obstacles, all of the speed bumps, all of the twists and the turns. That is who you need in your corner. And Davina is going to be a perfect fit for that. She's going to be helping you remain accountable and then on task, so you can finally get to the end result, your most meaningful career, whatever that may be for you. It is something that you have to cultivate, something that you have to create for yourself. And maybe you haven't been asked that question before, but today is that day. Ask yourself the question, what do I need in order to change my life in a career aspect focused mindset? Because yes, you can work 50 jobs and you can find yourself making ends meet, but you have no time. Find yourself more time to do the things that you want to be doing rather than the things that you're not doing. Because again, time is going to be a resource that we can't renew. So make sure you utilize your time in the most effective manner. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, you can email me coachinginsession@gmail.com, and I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.